فإن آمنوا بمثل ما آمنتم به فقد اهتدوا وإن تولوا فإنما هم في شقاق.
والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن سار على سبيله إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد. With today's lesson, inshallah tabarak ta'ala, we'll continue concerning this series regarding Ilm Al Hadeeth. So we have started and we discuss matters pertaining to Hadith Al Sahih and matters related to it, also Hadith Al Hasan and some matters that relate to it, and then we discussed matters relating to Hadith Al Da'if and also some matters relating to this. And also regarding that, we discussed, as mentioned by the ulama of hadith, regarding the different types of hadith that are some of the hadith, some of the anwa types of hadith al-da'if. And then last week we ended with the discussion regarding, as mentioned by Ibn Hajar rahimahullah, regarding reasons of a hadith could be da'if or made da'if due to certain factors and reasons, and we discussed most of those matters. As for today, inshallah ta'ala, we'll continue discussion regarding Ilm Al Hadeeth. And as we said, that Ilm Al Hadeeth that falls into different areas. And of these areas that we'll be discussing today is regarding matters concerning Al-Rawat, and more so regarding Ilm Al-Jar wa Ta'dil, what is referred to as Ilm Jar wa Ta'dil. So this is within the topics or within the discussion concerning Ilm Al Hadeeth. So it's a part of that the science of Ilm Al Hadeeth, that the person who is said to be a muhaddith and the person who study hadith and pass ruling upon hadith, being authentic or not, of the things that they have to be equipped with regarding this particular science. So we'll be starting that discussion today to give us a general overview of the topic regarding Ilm Jar wa Ta'dil. So as we said, it will be the topic to be discussed. Jar wa Ta'dil. And this is, I said, now within the ilm of hadith, within the ilm of the science of Ilm Al Hadeeth. So this ilm of Jar wa Ta'dil. So the thing that the ulama will discuss regarding these two particular wordings, Al-Jar and also Al-Ta'dil, what they are meant, and then give the meaning concerning the name of the meaning of this the science, or what is intended by the science. So regarding what has been mentioned in brief regarding Al-Jar wa Ta'dil, so look at each word separately, Al-Jar and also Ta'dil. That as for Al-Jar, as they are mentioned regarding Al-Jar, Ta'thir fil badan, Bishaqqa aw al-qat. So even the person being injured, or a person being having some type of impact on the person's body by way of either the person's body being split or being broken. So that's concerning jar. So the person being, if it's general concern, a person being injured, so some type of injury being put upon the person, either by the person either being breaking, parts of breaking or being cut. And generally concerning a jar, when it is used overall, regarding concerning that of the meaning that is now is taken from this or understood, is concerning ta'thir fi khuluq wa din yusuf biwasfin yatanakhuduhuma. That general concerning jar, a jar is some form of attack upon the person. So a jar is a form of attack regarding the person's khuluq, the person's conduct and character, or regarding attack upon the person regarding his deen, by using certain type of description that we can somewhat remove this from the person being a person's outstanding or a person's upright. So jar is a form of attack upon the person or criticism upon the person by way of his conduct or by way of his deen. Or it could be a combination of both. So that's concerning a jar in general. So as for the ulama of hadith, when in this particular science, when they say a jar is a was, a rawi, is describing a rawi, a narrator, بما يقتضي رد روايته, is a was, a rawi is describing a narrator بما يقتضي رد روايته, where as a description of a narrator, where this would require that the person narrations are rejected, either in totality or in portion. So it's a description of a narrator whereby his narrations would be deemed to be rejected either completely or in part. So either completely or in part. So that's concerning a jar with the ulama of hadith. A narrator being described by that which would require is narration being rejected either in totality or in part. Then that's concerning a jar. So that's concerning a jar regarding the ulama of hadith. As for a ta'dil, so a ta'dil from adala, tasfiya, so making something like even, or taqweem, or a form of like judging. So generally concerning a jar or ta'dil is a form of tasfiya, making something even, an even par. That's the general meaning, and also that meaning concerning a ta'dil when it is used in generally concerning that thana ala shakhs. A ta'dil generally is what is intended or what is used is regarding thana ala shakhs, is a person being praised. Either relating to his deen or his khuluq. So either a person being praised due to matters related to his deen or matters related to his outstanding character. So that's concerning ta'dil in general. As for the people of hadith, this word, terminology, at-ta'dil, was rawi, is describing a narrator بما يقتضي قبول روايته, where it is describing a narrator, what that would, or be قبول روايته, is describing a narrator by a way which would involve accepting his narrations. So that is ta'dil. So that's concerning jar wa ta'dil, both individual, each word and their individual meaning according to the ulama of hadith. And not for the science itself that is referred to as in the science of ilm jar wa ta'dil or ilm jar wa ta'dil. As for the science as a science, the ulama they mentioned that ilm jar wa ta'dil can be looked upon as a science concerning from two ways. One, by way of nadari as a science theoretical principles, or as a science theoretically, which is qawahid allati tabna alayha marifata al-riwat. So jar wa ta'dil as a general science nadari, by way of nadari, something which is more scientific. It is those qawaid, principles that are established in knowing of the narrators. So principles that are there so as to have clarity of the narrators. الذين تقبل روايتهم, where a person can accept their riwayat, or rad riwayatuhum, or reject their narrations. So these are these principles that are established where one is able to can know of the narrators and know whom one can accept their narrations, and those that we cannot, their narrations are rejected. So that's the science nazari as its principles. As for ilm jar wa ta'dil, tatbiqiyya, one which is much more, one which is the applied science. So as a more practical applied science, applying to the more practical way, they mention concerning that ilm jar wa ta'dil, inzal kulli rahin rawin, so it's placing each narrator manzilatuhu, its place allati yastahaq, that is deserving. So placing each narrator in the place that is deserving min qubul wa adam, by way of those that you can accept and those that you can reject. So it's placing each person in the position that is deserving by that which can be accepted from them and that which is rejected from them. So that's concerning ilmu jar wa ta'dil tatbiqiyya, where is knowing those who we can take from and those who we cannot take from, and the reason behind this. So that's concerning the science regarding its definition. And the ulama rahimahullah, they mention regarding the science of ilmu jar wa ta'dil that an ijma, as mentioned by Ibn Hajar and others regarding mentioned ijma regarding the hukum of the science, regarding the study and the use of the science. The issue with jar wa ta'dil, it falls into mentioning of sometimes of individuals, Muslims, mentioning about them that are negative and sometimes behind in their absence, which we will say would be a form of ghiba. So me speaking ill about a Muslim and mentioning about a person's absence, that generally is considered to be a form of ghiba. But regarding, as we know in Islam, that in certain cases and circumstances, this rule, even though it may appears so, is not considered to be ghiba. So even though it may appears to be so, but it is not considered to be ghiba, where you speak about people in an ill way, but in certain circumstances it is permissible to do so. So we have certain cases that it is permissible to speak and to say things negatively about a person due to reasons that warrant this. So jar wa ta'dil is of that circumstance that it is valid to do so, to speak ill of people, when a general purpose is to preserve Islam. So to preserve Islam in general, then we said that now of this is looking at those who are the narrators, the conveyor of Islam, the narrators of Hadith, and to see those whom we can accept their narrations and those that we cannot. And this may mean and will mean sometimes speaking ill about those people. I mentioned the ill points about them. So the ulama agreed, as mentioned by Ibn Hajar, so I mentioned by An-Nawawi rahimahullah in the book Riyadus Salihin and others, that there are certain cases which is permissible to speak ill about a person, to mention a negative thing about a person, based upon that situation might allow this or makes it something which is valid. So this is of one of those circumstances. So the hukum of this particular science of ilmu jar wa ta'dil, ajma al-ulama ala jawaz jar al-majruhin min al-rawat amwatan wa ahyahan. Come regards to the mention concerns ajma al-ulama ala jawaz, that I mentioned that agreed upon by the ulama, the permissibility of speaking ill or criticizing those who are deserving it from the narrators, whether they have passed on or they are alive, so that they have died or they are still living. That is permissible to speak good about the narrators, to speak ill about narrators, just on something it is agreed upon between the ulama. So it's also of those cases where, for the benefit of Islam, general of preserving Islam and its principles and guidelines, that of the thing regarding hadith is preserving hadith, that knowing those who are credible enough that you can accept their narrations. What time is it? Oh. How much? Right. So of the things with jar wa ta'dil, about 19. Okay, around that time. Okay. So of those things that with jar wa ta'dil of this particular science, with narrators that will be covered or studied as for the narrators of Rawat, who are the narrators, Nam, that the person who goes into the science, Nam, and to speak about others in a form of ilm jar wa ta'dil is not based upon that that person have to have certain qualifications or certain criteria is set for the person that when he that his word that what he says is acceptable regarding the science. So in a case where anyone can speak, so I said that it's permissible to speak about people. This about those people who are qualified to speak on this topic. Clear? So regarding jar wa ta'dil is not just an open thing for anyone to speak. Because if you're not qualifying, you may that you might and you're speaking up and you might enter into this, you might fall into haram. So there's certain criteria regarding those people who are said to be qualified, that they're the ones who can actually speak on this topic and what they say is acceptable. As some people may speak, but their words are not, what they say is not acceptable. And yes, the ulama have a book just about that. People who may speak and those who what they say is acceptable and those that are unacceptable. So now the thing regarding this science, because of its was that sensitive, crucial but important, is knowing who are those people who are said to be qualified. Because they're discussing concerning something which is sensitive about a person's deen and about a person's character to the general public. To the general public. And regarding the ruwat that we spoke, that the people will talk about, either you find that there are those who are fihi, ta'dil, or you know of them as being a person who's upright, nam, of adala, or in cases a jar is upon the person, is an established jar upon the person, or a third group which are those people we don't have anything about jar or ta'dil upon them. We say what those group of people are called. They fall into what? We talk about jahala. So jar or ta'dil, you find a person who fall into three. A person with a ta'dil is there for him, or a person there's jar upon him, so there's the person is praised and spoken of well, or a person that there's some negative things that are said about him, so either positive or negative, or a person where there's nothing positive or negative said about him, there's not much about him known, so he's known but there's no one that said anything for or against him. That's the person who said is jahala. Majhul. His case is majhul. His al is majhul. Nam, whereas he's known, but there's nothing for or against him. Nam, so that's concerning the narration that will be covered in general. And I said to show the justice of the ulama of this science, that if there's ta'dil, then it is mentioned, and it is said. And if there's jar, then it is said. Nam, and if there's nothing that is known, then there's nothing said. Clear? So that shows concern the level of fairness regarding this. So we said that because of the sensitivity of the topic, but importance is not something which is left for everyone. Because it says it may resembles ghiba, but it's not ghiba. So based upon this, not anyone or everyone is opened for everyone to enter and to speak about people.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح إله إلا الله
لا إله إلا الله.
Bismillah. Due to time, should we continue this? Huh? We have 9 minutes? Okay, you can. So, can somewhat to speed things up. So I think that we can somewhat. So with reward, there's certain condition when a person will be said. So with so we said that regarding a narrator, now you'll fall into one of these category. It is something that is known to be upright and has been said and established, or there's jar about a person, and in some cases a person might fall into there's positive and negative said about him. And then to make that final decision about that particular narrator, then those who are somewhat said to be unknown, not much said about them. But so you have certain conditions regarding what would be there, like a chart. We use like a chart to say what is those conditions that needs to be placed for a person to be said to be a person who's is possess adala. So you have certain conditions that are there regarding if the person fulfill these criteria, then the person is said to be upright. And if those things are not in place, then the person, there's some form of criticism upon the individual. So due to time, we can somewhat skip and go to the thing which is important, especially in a time we find that some of the people are trying to revive the science of ilm jar wa ta'dil, but is reviving everything in its proper context. And of that concerning ilm jar wa ta'dil, we said it's a science within the science of hadith. It's one of the science within the many areas concerning ilm al hadith. So of those things that is required, that they mention in brief regarding a person who is said to be, of a person who can speak on this topic and is said to be qualified. So not everyone who may speak about this is said to be qualified. So the thing is to say to judge whether a person is qualified or not is knowing what are the criteria for a person who is said to be what? Proficient in this particular field. Then to see who fulfill it. So if you know the criteria that is laid down regarding who's the people, the ulama of this science, then that becomes the thing to judge. Whoever fulfill those criteria, then they are from the science. Those who are not, then they are not from it. And what they say is not giving much attention. How much minutes we have? 2? 6. Okay. So they have these shurut. So these shurut, mu'addil wal jarih, the one who can deem a person to be a person who's said to be qualified to can pass these type of judgment. So of those conditions that they mention, that one of the person who's said to be a person who's qualified within the science of ilm jar wa ta'dil, that of those conditions the person must fulfill for him able to can speak about others. That one is that yakuna adlan, that person himself is one who's said to be ad. So the person himself is ad, a just upright. And adala we have mentioned before. So adla in the person, that the person concerned adala, that there's certain things in place for him. That he's upright regarding Islam. So he's upright regarding Islam and not known for unbefitting behavior and characteristics. And so that the person who's ad is of that type. The person is known to be upright regarding his Islam, and also is not known to be of a person of behavior and conduct that's not befitting. So that's first thing. So the person who wishes to speak himself have to be one who's of adala. The second that they mention of those conditions, and yakuna wara'an, yamna al-wara' min ta'assub wal hawa. But the person also said to be a person of wara. But the person who is known for is like piety, God consciousness, taqwa, where that also that person in this field is not known that he is easily influenced or is influenced by based upon ta'assub. He's somewhat of his own ta'assub towards certain things. He's very ta'assub, they say, other words say fanat, not the fanaticism, but muta'assib in English. Partisan, maybe partisanship towards certain things.
Easily swayed. Easily influenced.
And now the asub, not in this case, that himself he has certain views that he's very hold dear to. And sometimes that cannot influence his decision. And also hawa. So also the person that also he doesn't follow his own desires. So it matters. He always can, not allow his desires to take control of his decision or to influence his decision. I'll come back. We come back. So that's concerning of those conditions. Now, Alhamdulillah, wassalam ala Rasulillah wa alihi wa sahbihi wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsan ila yawmiddin wa ba'd. So continue concerning the discussion regarding Ilm al-Jarh wa Ta'deel as a part of the science of Ilm al-Hadith, where we defined Ilm al-Jarh wa Ta'deel, and also it is something by it is permissible to speak about people in an ill way based upon as a form of preserving Islam and their religion. Then we discussed concerning also that which were what that are mentioned in this particular science, that either you find that they fall into those who have been praised, or those things negative, ill things have been said about them, or those that there's not much said about them and they fall in between type of thing. Then the ulama have some guidance regarding how to identify regarding each group, and we discussed some of those things before. Then we were discussing also of the important thing to be mindful of, that because of the sensitivity of this particular science and its importance, that and with every science in Islam, that is not open for anyone to speak about this science or to speak about this particular science, and what they say is accepted. So not everyone that speak, then what is said is considered to be acceptable. So with this, there's certain shurut regarding all the people who are said to be specialists in this particular science, and something the person should be aware of who wish to speak about the science. So of those things, that is to regulate the science, that of the ulama of this science, that one, that person is said to be a person who's adl, a person is known to be of adala himself. So not a person who's somewhat a fasiq, or a person who is criticized where that is rejected. Then second, that person akuna a person of wara, a person who is known for his piety, where that person is not easily swayed by way of his ta'assub, that due to his somewhat blind following of a particular of a staunch position about a particular view, that can somewhat influence the person becomes somewhat unjust due to differences that may occur between himself and others in certain things that he may view that he may have a staunch position towards. Then also the person not to be of one, a person who's influenced easily by his hawa, by his vain desires, where he allowed this for him to pass judgment on people based upon his desire. But so those things he should try to avoid. So al-wara wa taqwa prevent the person from going overboard and being influenced by external reasons. Then of those certain ulama they mention regarding the persons who are said to be of those who can speak on this particular science, they mention an yakuna yakiza, that a person is the one who's somewhat said to be sharp, not a person who's mughaffil, a person who somewhat is not very on point, a person who's not very is very somewhat, so the person who's not one who's very sharp, on point regarding matter, very try to be very precise about things, a person not very mindful type of thing, and not very careless regarding certain things. وأن يكون يغتر بظاهر حال الراوي, where a person is not easily influenced by just the general appearance of the narrator, so not easily taken by the general appearance of a person. A person might possess or might display things of what is said to be a person of piety. The person might have a big beard, maybe seem to be in the masjid. So based upon those apparent things, the person take that and believe the person becomes one who everything that he says is acceptable. So a person should not be of that one who's easily swayed or influenced by things which is external. Then they mention of those things, and yakuna arifan, that a person, or alim, arifan or aliman bi asbab jar wa ta'dil, and also that person have to be one, which is very important, that is arif bi asbab jar wa ta'dil. So the person which is more very important, that person arif, that person himself is very knowledgeable and well grounded regarding the reasons that may deem a person, that a person may be criticized, and when a person is said to be of adala, a person is trustworthy and credible. So the person knowing those reasons and those factors that can influence a person being said to be of those who's dismissed, or those people, what he says is acceptable. So knowing of those factors based upon certain guidelines that ulama have outlined. So the person being well aware of those things, the person being meticulous with the person investigate things thoroughly. Also the person is one who has wara wa taqwa, of piety and God consciousness, where a person not easily influenced by their desires or ta'assub, blind following of views or taking to views, or and also the person said to themselves, also the person said to be a person of themselves, possess adala, credibility. So that's the person who fulfilled those criteria. Then he's the one who's able to speak on this particular topic. Can speak on this particular topic. So those are the things that are mentioned regarding the person who is said to be of those people who can speak on this topic. Now we mentioned that of those, as the ulama of past, are the ones that are somewhat set the stage regarding knowing the affairs of the narrators. So the people of the past, regarding knowing of narrators, whether they are acceptable or not, that they are the ones who set the stage. And we have mentioned some of the ulama who are the ones who are the leaders in this particular area. So you have Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Yahya ibn Ma'in, Ali ibn Madini, Sa'id, Qahtan, and the likes are the people who lead on this particular science. Ibn Adi, Imam Bukhari, Imam Muslim, Abu Dawood, they are the people who are said to be the masters on this particular topic. Ibn Abi Hatim, Al-Razi, and the likes, they are the ones who set the standard for this particular science. So those are criteria that is said or laid down regarding the person who wishes to speak on this science. Then they have to fulfill those basic criteria. And the important one, the person's arif, the asbab, jar wa ta'dil. So the person doesn't criticize a person for something that he shouldn't be criticized for, and also praising someone and holding a person to be a person of adala, trustworthiness, who is not deserving. So knowing of those things is important regarding this particular science. So that's in general regarding knowing those people who are of this science. Then they mentioned here also qubul al-jar wa ta'dil, in the sense of also accepting qubul al-jar wa ta'dil. So regarding qubul jar wa ta'dil, in the sense of when a person read a book of the ulama, the books that have been written on this particular in this particular field of jar wa ta'dil, qubul al-jar wa ta'dil, regarding when one reading to these books concerning that, we have either jar or what will be mentioned about a person regarding narrators. So regarding qubul jar wa ta'dil, in the sense of what's mentioned in the books of the ulama. So the science today, when sometimes that ulama say that no, the ilm of that is science is in the books, because what have been mentioned about the narrators is now what is recorded in the books at that time of somewhat past regarding narrators of the hadith or athar. So what have been written in those books or what have been said about others as the narrators, before we can move to that point, there's another point to bear in mind. We can mention concerning Jarh wa Ta'deel. Like in today's time, as we said here, wish to revive the science of Ilm al-Hadith in general. Now, there's a revival of the Ilm of Hadith for the past several years too, regarding this particular science, and also of those things regarding the grading of Hadith. Hadith being authentic or not being authentic. And you have certain people who have somewhat excel and become well known for this. Some who have excelled, some are famous, in the sense of they are known by many, and there are those who are specialists in this science, but they are not that famous. But it doesn't mean but they are still specialists in this science. Clear? So that scientists, they start, we find that those people are the ones that in contemporary times, that you find that they'll be the ones who are checking hadith and the athar of the Salaf to say this is authentic as a hadith and this is not authentic as a hadith. Clear? And also concern the athar of the Salaf regarding this athar upon this Sahabi, is it authentic or not. So you have certain people who have somewhat become famous for this as being people that they are specialists in the science of hadith in general. With me? So you have Sheikh Albani, and sometimes I said no, and their works also kind of somewhat, it proves that these people, that they are masters of this science. Their works prove that they are masters of this science. And sometimes a person may be known for the science but doesn't have the works are there but not to that degree of compared to others. Now, in a sense of that they can authenticate hadith. Clear about that point, huh? That they're able to what? At the end of it, their skill, their knowledge of ilm al-hadith, where at the end of it, they can go to hadith, can give any hadith. And they can tell you come back a few days or whatever time and they can give you the final result regarding hadith being authentic or not. With me? So those are the people regarding this ilm al-hadith, they are the ones who are called the muhaddith. Now, that the end result when a person studies the science is able to make that judgment on a hadith. Now, so you have certain people who have excelled regarding this science and become known, like Sheikh Albani, Sheikh Muqbil, Abdul Qadir, Ar-Naut, and others. Now, and you have some people who are known for the science, but regarding authenticating hadith and the likes and researching this particular type, but their works are not that plenty or known to many. Now, to the general people type of thing. So you have those ones that they are known for the science, but not as well known to many. But they have some works to show that they have some knowledge of the science. Such as Sheikh Hamad Ansari. Sheikh Hamad Al-Ansari. One of that's the Sheikh of Medina. During his time. Now, which are a couple years back. So you have certain people of that. So, Ilm Jarh wa Ta'deel is used regarding, in particular, in the science of hadith, regarding a person, or the end of it, is having the ability that they can critique narrators and also the end result, make judgment on hadith. Then also Ilm Jarh wa Ta'deel is used today, in contemporary time, is used today regarding critiquing of others. In general, regarding people, Tulab al-Ilm or Mashaykh, can we take from them or not? So that Jarh wa Ta'deel is also used in that sense of, at the end of it, identifying those people whom one can take your religion from. Is that person qualified that you can sit and learn from him? So it is said to be Jarh wa Ta'deel, in the sense of identifying those people whom we can actually benefit from them regarding our deen. So look at so that person should fulfill certain criteria. But regarding, so it's not also for that purpose that sometimes it is used in that regard regarding critiquing whether a person is of the criteria, fulfill the criteria, where can we benefit and study from that person. Type. And it has its own, and so sometimes we say refuting others. As I said, you might want to refute, rad, of a person. But does rad in our case mean jar wa ta'dil? Equates jar wa ta'dil. So refuting a person, does that equate in all cases that is said to be ilm of jar wa ta'dil? So that's something to be discussed, but for another time. Now, so that's the thing. So it's said, so in general critiquing of people, who we can accept concerning their narrations or take knowledge from them. So it's said, based upon the method we discussed last week, that sometimes a person might be a person from Ahl Bidah, but still you can take from him due to other factors. So a person may say to have Bidah, but in Jar wa Ta'dil, his narration is still considered to be a person that is thiqah, credible enough that you can take benefit from him regarding his narrations. So with this of Jar wa Ta'dil, known concerning who can accept their narrations from and not, regarding in the books, generally in the books of Jar wa Ta'dil, that you find that when a narrator is discussed, I might find a lot of cases where either Mufassir, the person is discussed in detailed, or I mean you have enough sufficient detail that will explain the reason why he's being criticized for this and for that and for that. So that is Jar Mufassir, where the person, the reason why he's being criticized or being praised is mentioned, or the person may be spoken about in a way which is, as they say, mubham. Mubham in this context, that is mentioned and not all is said about him is just a fun result. The person is daif, he's a dajjal, he's thiqah, but you don't know why. So that is ta'dil or tajriyah mubham. If something is mentioned about him, but there's no explanation, no detail, just the final result. So that is said to be what? Mubham. So it could be in the form of ta'dil, and it could be in the form of tajriyah, with a person being dismissed, but it's just it is not detailed, or it's that the reasons have been given. And you might find cases where the reasons have been given. So the case is, if a person is being spoken of, is it a condition to accept from anything about a narrator? They have to be mufassir, whether the jar or the ta'dil. Clear? For you to accept a person, to say the person is this or that, does the case is whatever been said about him have to come in a detailed form? And if it comes in a mubham, somewhat not detailed form, then it's not accepted. So you have that discussion between the ulama. Does jar wa ta'dil needs to be in all cases clearly outlined, or if it is sufficient in cases where it is mubham? With me? So you have that discussion. So I said in a nutshell, difference between the ulama, those who requires that jar wa ta'dil have to be mufassir, have to be somewhat clearly outlined, and those who mention that in cases that depending on the case and situation, that mufassir can be accepted, and also mubham sometimes can be accepted. And it was said no, Amariya, by way of what is in the books, you might find a lot of what is said in the books of the ulama is fall into this mubham, meaning not everything that is mentioned about a person might come in a way of mufassir, in a detailed way, or it has been explained why he's being criticized or why he's being praised. You do find cases, but the majority would be this one, where things are somewhat still not clearly explained. the person is da'if. And that's it. But why? So cases like those, how we work with the practicality of what's in the book. If we require everything to be detailed, that will mean that we're going to dismiss many people because we have nothing much about them. Or what we have, your person with that is not sufficient enough for them. So they mentioned that mufassir, if it comes, then that's always better. But also come in the case of mubham, then you can work with that. That can be also still be used, because if you dismiss this, then you have nothing left. If you dismiss this in all cases, that whether ta'dil or tajri has to be clearly defined, anything that is somewhat not clearly defined or explained or mentioned, you're not taking it. You're going to find a lot of cases where you are left with nothing.
They would fall into jahala.
Then so either you put into jahala, you understand, but you still have something where something has been said from a credible person, but still not detailed as to the reason behind it. So you're left in a situation where you're going to have a lot of cases that you are somewhat, we say the word, stuck in English. You understand? And you'll find that this may be the majority case in the books of Jar wa Ta'dil.
You're in limbo. You don't know what
So in limbo. So the ulama, they do work with jar mufassir and jar mubham. Jar mufassir, then at least you know the detail. And you can more make a more sounder judgment. Or if it's mubham, from a person who said fulfill the criteria, at least you can work with that. Because that's what you have. So you still try to, and the problem come in those cases, also the situation that may arise, that you're speaking with an imam of the science. He's speaking about a narrator. So either you might find, with also the narrators, or not narrators, sorry, they are imam of this science, who speak in this. They fall into three categories. One of the other ulama of this science fall into three categories. Those who are muta'annit, mutashaddid. Those who are mutashaddid or muta'annit. Those who want that they are very mutashaddid. They are the ones who are ali tashdid. Mutashaddid. They are the ones who are harsh, very stern, in the sense of hard, muta'annit, that they would criticize a person for the slightest thing. They'll criticize you for the slightest things. So they are said to be mutashaddid. Either fi tajriyah, others or ta'dil. They are very difficult for them to give you ta'dil. And they're mutashaddid, where sometimes they criticize you for the simplest of things. So you have some who are like that. So you have those mutashaddid. Then you have the second one, mu'tadil. Those ones who are mu'tadil, they are more the ones who are more balanced. They're the ones who are more balanced. So when they speak, it's usually very sound. You understand? They don't go to no extreme. When they speak, they can somewhat speak for what it is. And their judgment are usually on point, where they're somewhat balanced in their judgment. And don't go overboard to any extreme. So you have those ones of that degree. Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Imam Bukhari, of that way inclined in their general. And it's considered a person in most cases. Then you have those who are mutasahil. The mutasahil. Those are mutasahil. Does it start? I don't like writing with these pens, man. Those are mutasahil. They're the ones who are easygoing. Much more easier. So sometimes they might slide the person through. They might slide the person through. So not just sometimes as thorough as the other ones, but so you find them of these three categories. So sometimes with each of the imam of this science is try to see where he fits into the scheme of this of these three categories is you have those mutashaddid, that most of the time that he's kind of somewhat go overboard with people, or he's mu'tadil, somewhat most of the time kind of somewhat on point, more balanced in his approach, or the one who's mutasahil, one somewhat too easygoing. Now, so to see each person where they fall into the scheme of this. So have an idea when he speaks how to approach some of what he said. Now, when a person mutashaddid, when he gives ta'dil, there is something to hold to, because he's not an easy man to please. You understand? So when he does praise you, they know that you are, mashallah. You understand? You really... but also in his jar, something you have to wait out. Nam, because he's mutashaddid, so he sometimes, in his tashdid, sometimes may attack the person for something that doesn't warrant that degree of attack. Nam, then you have the mu'tadil, both ways is balanced. The mutasahil, then, you understand, he may slip people through, that's the problem. Nam, so it's knowing who falls into which of these. Nam, and a person sometimes, in some cases, may be this way or that way. Might sometimes fall into different ones, depending on certain cases. So you have certain people, mutashaddid, anyone from a particular region, you're out. You understand? You have one of the Imam that they're mutashaddid, where they were more, anyone from a particular region, if you're from that region, khalas, you're gone. You have nothing good to say about you, because you're from a particular region. Now, because all that region, the people from there, from Ali Shia. So anyone from that region, you're dismissed. Now, so is looking at those Imam to see how they approach things. Now, so also with the science of Imam, so he finds that Imam, they fall into one of those categories, sometimes there, but also with this, regarding that Imam, in this matter, a particular Imam of Jar wa Ta'dil, that a circumstance, or the Imam of Jar wa Ta'dil, so Imam of Jar wa Ta'dil, in certain time I find one Imam, a particular Imam, he might have with Fulan, a particular person, Fulan, Alif, Fulan, Zaid, he may have just one call on him. Fulan, Zaid, is good or is bad. So you have one call. Or that Imam sometimes may have more than one aqwal upon one person. He may say more than one thing, so you have, and they seem to be conflicting. So you have different aqwal upon one single person, and they seem to be conflicting. Sometimes he's praising him, and sometimes he's acting which is disparaging about the person. That's from one person, one Imam. So it's working out those cases where one person saying praise and also dispraise. Which one do we give precedent? Regarding his aqwal. So it may take a process to see, you understand, to work it out. Some cases, if maybe you, so it's knowing to see which of those is given precedent. So sometimes it could go that way or that way, but it requires further research. It requires further research. So anytime you find in any case that you find that there's a ta'arud, where there seems to be a conflict, that means that further research needs further research, as in anything. So if from one Imam or from A'imma, that you find the A'imma, a group of the ulama, are spoken about Fulan Zaid. So we just mentioned a case of what? A scenario of one person. So either you just have one consistent view on a person, all bad or all good. Consistency. Or the same Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal as an example, that some of his statements about Fulan, Zaid, in some cases positive, and in some case negative. Then that becomes the case that you need to look more into why it is going, which of those views is to be taken, what should be the final result. Is the person to be dismissed, or should a person be accepted? But it requires what? Further investigation, because ta'arud, there's conflict from one person, and sometimes it can occur. Could be at an early stage, you used to praise him, then later on, he dissed him. So it requires further investigation. That concerning that's one imam. A case now we have a group of the imam, that either you find that all of them saying the same thing about a person. Everyone saying praise or everyone dispraise. Then it becomes clear. You understand? Many, the group, are saying the same thing about a person. Show that a person, depending on what's being said, is acceptable. Or a case where they from imma, some saying good and some saying bad. There's a conflict between them. So now to measure, to come to a conclusion, is that it becomes a process of further research. So sometimes may go back to the ones who are praising, for example, some praising Zayd and some have disparaging things about Zayd. Which one to give precedent? So I said that in this case, we'll mention concerning ta'arud, I said jar wa ta'dil. Ta'arud, jar wa ta'dil. Where there's a conflict regarding jar being present about a person and also ta'dil, praise of the person. So there's a conflict from different individuals, from the ai Which of those call to give precedent? The ones who are saying good or the ones who are saying negative?
But is it sufficient? This is just a quick question for you. And if there's an imam and he's speaking, one imam, he's speaking good of Zayd, Zayd is good, but the ai are saying
bad. So take the majority. That's what you're saying?
No, I'm saying, well, what happens in that case?
It could be that case. Whatever scenario, could be 1 against 5, 2 against 4. You understand? But there's ta'arud. Regarding a particular individual. So the thing concerned now. So you have different now. So the thing was said, at some cases maybe, you understand? So you have different ways of, they say, tarjih. To come to a final conclusion. To see which of the views is giving precedent. Then you might have, depending on different cases, might apply different of ways of tarjih. So tarjih meaning, one, you have to come to a final conclusion, and it means taking some view and not accepting the others. You don't give precedent to one view over another. So that's a form of tarjih. But you have different ways of making tarjih. You have different ways of making tarjih. So just the one thing, as some might say, that al-jar. So you have one way could be, one of the ways could be jar mufassir, muqaddam ala ta'dil mubham. So we might have a case where jar mufassir, that jar, those who are criticizing that person, they are jar mufassir, they have spelled it out. They have given the reason. And the ones who's praising them, they're saying is good. And they haven't given the reason. So that may be of the reason to give precedent to the ones who are criticizing because their thing is clear. Yeah, you understand? So the ones who are somewhat mubham, unclear, we give precedent to ones that have clarified the reason why we've attacked this person, but also that the reason they give is also valid. So they might give reason, so it's not in all. So we said the mufassir become mufassir in a sense of it is ta'athur, it is something that actually does have a bad consequence. It's actually a valid reason why it's being criticized. So if it's out of ta'assub or hawa, then that's not acceptable. It's a criticism, but you can see the person is being a little bit, we said, you're from that region, so I dismiss, I diss you. So the reason, the mufassir have to be reason that is within the reasonable, acceptable reason to attack a person. Clear? So maybe mufassir, but is not something which is a real jar. A jar, this person, as an example, married 33 times and divorced For some people it's a jar. And for some people, mashal hal, it's a jar but mashal hal. Go to 35, go to 34. You understand? But for some people might take that to heart. You marry so many times, and they diss you. You understand? But in itself, it may not be a jar that means to write the person off completely. But for some people in their custom, in their own, in a sense, the individual, you might, that's not my thing. But really it's not a thing that you can hold against the person to say, you're totally to be written off. Or they say a person sometimes, that may disagree that person walking the street and his head is not covered. You with me? Walking, is in thobe, everything there, big beard, everything, but that person, his head is not covered. Not wearing a kufi or imam or whatever. Is that a reason to have a legitimate reason to jar of that person? In custom and tradition, you may say that is that reason, maybe as a person, maybe in a custom, but in Islamically is not a valid reason to totally dismiss the person. So I said a jar, mufassir, needs to be looked into also to see is the reason actually a valid reason. Nam? And so it could be also the person who's making jar, the one is a mutashaddid. Is mutashaddid, muta'annit. So I said, the ones who that you're going against are people are known to be mu'tadil. You're going against Bukhari, Ahmad ibn Hanbal, and the person that is of that view is more mutashaddid. So this might give precedence to the ones who are mu'tadil over the one who's mutashaddid. Because you know that sometimes he got a bit overboard. Nam? So you have different things that can be used. Different factors that could be used. And sometimes could be that also mutashaddid. With a person who's mutasahil, you understand? But is striking as ways of tarjih. Ways of tarjih may varies based upon the case study. Now, so you have some guidelines that are there, but all of these principles are not principles that are fixed. It could be where you find that there's cases in some, but is the ways of making tarjih and knowing the ways and the means of making tarjih.
But this will go back to that the imam or the imam.
Hey, for the imam,
they have to be qualified in that field.
yeah, that's it. So that's what we said of what is required as being qualified. You have to know asbab jar wa ta'dil, asbab jar wa ta'dil, knowing the reason actually that may be deemed to be a valid reason why a person is to be criticized or to be praised. So you are clear on those points. Now, because so if you are unclear on those points, then you're not in this area. This is not your field. Now, so the person has to know the real reason behind when a person can be criticized. For example, we mentioned, al-bidah. Now, we mentioned al-bidah. So a person might know that in bidah, anyone that says that from al-bidah, you're totally dismissed. I mentioned some old man that someone said from your person from al-bidah, you said from bidah, then khalas, you're out for them. You with me? So that may be a reason that they're working with. So is this reason with this person a reason to totally dismiss them in this regard? And a person known to be a person of sidq, truthfulness, uprightness, upon you understand, but he may have a particular bidah.
He doesn't.
But that person, the person that you look at, if you have a bidah, then khalas, you are dismissed. You with me? So it's knowing of those reasons, knowing who you're working with, and how to, we said now put all the pieces of the puzzle together. And with jar wa ta'dil, of the sign of the thing before you can come to a conclusion of the thing is, try to get as much information possible about a person. So of the thing of the so because at the end you want to make a fair, just judgment about a person. So the thing is, whatever you can find or whatever that you can find a person, then all that is gathered, good or bad, and then you can then the person can somewhat work through what have been found. So not just taking some and dismiss others. You have to take everything of those people who are qualified, all that have been said, then you try to work with everything that have been mentioned and come to a final conclusion regarding that person who's doing that research, for the researcher. Now, so that inshallah ta'ala will kind of somewhat.
Do some of the Ummah have this opinion where the Jarh, if it's Mufassir, takes precedence over the Ta'dil?
Mubham. That's a ta'dil mubham. So that's a way of that occurs when there's ta'arud. Now, so it's a ta'arud, meaning that there's many opinions on that person. Now, so of the way of coming to a conclusion, you might use that principle. That jar mufassir muqaddam ala ta'dil.
This is because I once heard Sheikh Rabir say that the Jarh takes precedence over the approvals by other ulama.
Sorry, without mentioning names.
Yeah,
Is it said?
I heard that he says the Jarh takes precedence. Maybe this is the opinion he holds. The Jarh holds precedence over the individual, then the approvals by the other.
After that, I would say with any science of Islam, you understand that with a sound of masahil may have some difference between the ulama. Now, so the person may be based upon the view that they have come to. They said no, that they work with that. Now, but we said no regarding concerning ta'arud, regarding any person. I would say we're talking about ruwat first. Now, and most of our contemporaries are about ruwat. It's about other aspect of, you understand, the Prophet. But regarding ruwat and others, we said people and others, when we find there's a conflict, we have a difference of opinion on a person, then that's when those things come into play. With me? So you usually find that there's a multitude of information about the person. There are those who are having jar in our case, and those ta'dil, those who are praising. So we say that now, as first the person will look at the case, you have to know those who have criticized him, what they have said, and what the reason are. And then we have the ta'dil concerning, for those who are making ta'dil, what's the basis of their ta'dil? What's the basis of their ta'dil? And when a person have all that information, then you can come to a conclusion. If there seems to be a conflict, you might use one of the principles of tarjih. And that's one of them. That's one of the principles. So it's knowing what principle to apply depending on the case that you're looking at. Now, Khalas? That's any? And overall, that's one of the principles that may be used. You understand? But it requires ta'dil, what is it? And the jar, what is it? And then try to...
One would take precedence over the other depending on the principle.
Depending on, we said, then see which is the principle to apply to that case. Which principle to apply to that case. طيب وبالله التوفيق.